Hi, this is Jeff, and this is Article of Faith number 21. And we're actually getting closer to the end of this series. There's 29 in total, so I guess I'm down to the last 2 months. And this one's on the marriage of ministers. And really, many of these last ones are kind of a mixed bag. There's some that'll make you scratch your head, but I still think it's important to soak them in and to think about why they're there. So this one's of the marriage of ministers, and it comes from the Methodist Episcopal tradition. And it says, the ministers of Christ are not commanded by God's law either to vow the estate of single life or to abstain from marriage. Therefore it is lawful for them, as for all other Christians, to marry at their own discretion, as they shall judge the same to serve best to godliness. So, first of all, it says they're not commanded by God's law. It'd be interesting, and I don't remember if John Wesley ever preached on it or if there's a sermon about it, but there are scriptures that lift up singleness. Jesus himself said some are eunuchs, they've been made that way, and some are eunuchs in a different way. Jesus addressed it in a little bit. Paul addressed singleness too, and lifted it up as something that's good if that's what God has given you. But then there's other places where, uh, for example, Peter, who the Catholics would have probably considered the first pope, was had a mother-in-law, so he was married. So what does that mean? So there's those ones too, where also marriage is lifted up in Christian service. So that's an interesting thing. So you wish there was documentation on what would be the scriptural documentation of this. Um, the part that caught my eye next was at their own discretion. Um, and to me that seemed like a little weak. But then they go on to add on as they judge to best serve best to godliness. So it's really not even their own discretion. It's how they feel led by God. So in their own life, to look at it personally, because some people are gifted with the gift of celibacy and service, so that the way they, like Paul says, they could focus even more of their time and energy to service. But then there's also the gift of marriage, and you learn a lot about you learn a lot about God and about people from marriage too. So, but again, it says at your own discretion, but that's almost secondary. It's at your own discretion, but in relation to your relationship with God. So, anyway, kind of interesting that this had to be addressed. Uh, that they wanted to make sure that this was very clear at the time. So, all right, I'll see you next week.